And we are live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bigfoot Odyssey's Researchers Report. Tonight, we have a special guest host, a man that needs a little introduction, coming to you all the way from the great state of Mississippi. Everyone's favorite storyteller on YouTube, Dixie Cryptid, Cam Buckner. Welcome, Cam.
Hey, thanks for inviting me on the show.
So glad you could be here, man. Great. And our guest for this evening, coming to us all the way from Bolton, England, the queen of the woodwoes, Miss Deborah Hatswell. Welcome, Deborah.
That I have Andy McGrath to blame for that title. Most of the Brits will know me just as Deborah Hatswell, I would imagine. Yeah, Queen of the Woodwood.
Well, I had to put that out there. But
yeah.
What over a little bit before we get started, those of you that are in the chat right now, we're going to have about the last 15, 20 minutes we'll save for questions. Make sure you have your questions in all caps. Make it a lot easier for us to pick out. And we've got some bulldog moderators in there, so keep it clean and respectful, and you'll be able to stick around. All right, let's get started. So, Deborah, before we get into your encounter, you have a map. Mm-hmm. Tell us about this map and where people can find that.
It's actually called the Sightings and Experience map. But if you put British Bigfoot map in, it will pop up. And it has on there every account that I've ever taken personally, every account that's ever come in by the team is very similar to the map that the BRFO made in the United States. And it's simply my filing system. It allows me to know what's happening in what area at what time. And when the sightings come in, I put them on there instantly. So, and we have a number of researchers and members now that go out to the area, do an area check, and sometimes talk to the witness themselves. And as many of the Brits know, I'm a little bit off my game at the minute. I've had dental surgery over the last 3 days. So if I seem a bit dopey, it's nothing. It's midnight, and the Brits normally know what I'm like. I'm normally pretty sharp. But yeah, sorry, the map. It's my way of knowing, as I say, what's happening. It also shows patterns. I was interested in mapping. Never been interested in cryptids, Bigfoot. Didn't know anything about them. I had a very strange encounter in 1982 when I was 15. And tried to put that out of my mind and ignore it for a very long time. And one of the things I do is distraction. And I like to map things. It's a hobby of mine, like deer populations and things like that. So you can see where things are moving through. And it just seemed years later when I started researching, I thought, oh, I'll map them. I only had 3 or 4 accounts then. And I thought, well, I'll put them on a map. And then I know where this strange, hairy, upright, I don't know what to call him other than an ape man. If anybody else has seen him. So it's a combination of everything that I've done over the last 37 years, but not just me, hundreds and hundreds of researchers in the UK, because they are out there. We have lots and lots of members. We have 15 members joined today alone. And it's people we've now started after I've been collecting data like footprints, hair samples, structures, as well as the anecdotal reports, like evidence, shall we call it, and documenting it away, putting it away in a database. So we've been able to discount some things, like some of the shelters and things like that. We've put them away. We don't need to be looking at them anymore. And it's kind of a one-stop shop for everything you need to know about British Bigfoot. So if they're interested, just have a look for British Bigfoot map and it will pop up. Or just put Deborah Hatswell in and I will pop up somewhere on Google, I'm sure. Sorry if that was really
British
long.
Bigfoot. No, not at all. So it's British Bigfoot map, right? For those of you that
it started in
that.
the UK, but to be honest, now it's spread out into Europe, across Russia, and my last couple of sightings have been from Canada and the United States. So it's global now. So even if you're not in the UK and you're interested in accounts in your area, just check it out, just have a look, because there's lots of accounts on there that aren't out there in the public domain. I do what you do. I interview them online, and I take the story. And I found over the last 18 months, lots and lots of Americans have reached out to me because they're being turned away. They're going to people with an account and the people are judging them and saying, no, I'm not interested. It doesn't fit my label. It doesn't fit in my box. And they left there. So if you can't report a Bigfoot account in America, where can you report it? You know,
That's
that's
right.
the
Well, you know,
trend.
we get sent encounters, and then Cam and I were just talking about this before we went live, that he has a stack of stories he hasn't even told. So, and something I wanted to say, you know, somebody made a comment about Cam Buckner, and I want to clear that up. It was on somebody that had joined a little bit early and said, Cam Buckner is a fraud. He makes up them stories and he told us so. And I don't think people really understand that a lot of times you will get an account, an encounter, and it's kind of like making a movie, you know, where it says based on a true story. You know, you have to turn it into, sometimes you have to turn it into a story, don't you, Cam? I mean, you get it, and you told it the way they wrote it, it'd last about a minute, right? So you're still telling their story. You're just making it a little more palatable, right?
Well, I mean, what he said, I admitted it. I hate to even acknowledge the guy's comment because he's a goofball, but this goes all the way back to a video I put out several months ago where I was just trying to explain to people how to be candid, how I come up with all these stories, and every single one of them that I write is a story that's actually told to me, and the way that I tell it is exactly the way it's told to me, but it may only be a couple of minutes long. I mean, if you're sitting there talking to a guy, you know, over a beer, and he tells you a quick story, maybe you don't have time to ask all the questions that a normal researcher would ask. At that time, all those stories were just kind of funny. So even nonfiction work, historical work, people have to add, you know, they have to add to the story to make it flow, and that's part of writing. And for some reason, now let's back up. Every single viewer encounter that I narrate on the channel is read word for word. Now, I may edit out somebody's paragraph would take 5 minutes to read, explaining all his knowledge on a certain caliber rifle. It's not pertinent to the story. And I reserve that right to edit stuff out that keeps the story going. But the stories that I tell that I've heard, I mean, a lot of times I do that, but that does not make them any less true. And then, you know, to end the discussion, can you find a single Bigfoot story on the planet that you can verify?
Well, exactly. I was just going to say, I get the same things leveled at me, and the Brits will tell you, you've got lots and lots of Brits out there as followers. I always say to the witness, can you write it out in your own words, or just do it on the audio on your own words? And then you have to explain the day. You have to explain what they were doing before, what happened during, what happened after, how they felt after. Sometimes it's like pulling teeth. They give you one sentence. They say, I saw a really scary thing in the woods, and that's it, and they shut down. I've had witnesses where it took me 18 months to pull that account out. There's a really dedicated researcher in the UK, and he had his first encounter in 1998. Now, when I met up with him, it was probably about 2007, and it was like pulling teeth. It took me about, I don't think I got the full account out of him until about 2014, because he made a bit of a mistake and he kept pushing in and he was going past the boundaries. He'd had a number of warnings. He'd had things thrown at him. Lots of running shadows around him, a lot of mimicking and wood knocking. And I said to him, you're pushing it, you're pushing your boundaries. And it was only then that it all came out. So, and then you've got not all of them are very good at putting down on paper or speaking about what happened. I wasn't. I can do it now. But if you'd have asked me even 10 years ago, I would have I just wouldn't have been prepared to share it. You have to explain the day, don't you? You have to say, I was doing this. And sometimes you've got to do it for them because they can't do it themselves. You've got to spell check. You've got to grammar check. And like you said, you've got to take out sometimes a massive amount of information that isn't really relevant to the tale. Because I'll say to people, what happened that day? And they'll say, well, I got up at 9:30. I went shopping, I got the cat, and you think, I need you to get to an hour before. What were you doing an hour before the event? What were you walking the dog? Were you out hiking? It's our job as storytellers to get as much information over as we can. And in the middle of that, there is the witness's truth. And then there is our reporting on that truth. And that's what we do. If we didn't do that, there wouldn't be YouTube channels, there wouldn't be books, there wouldn't be television, and there wouldn't be movies. It's
Deborah,
our way, isn't it? It's our way of getting the story out there.
Deborah, I'm coming to England and we're going to drink some beers, okay? Because you and I are right. We are so in line on that. And here's the thing. It's like you said, people are reluctant to tell these stories, maybe because they can't write them or whatever. Every story that I get, let me show you. My channel is 7 or 8 months old. This is how many stories.
I know.
This is how many I've done. Here's how many I have to go. Do you see that? These are stories that I have not read. Now,
I just heard 500 people go, yes.
I know. Well, I'm 7 months behind. I am still working on sightings accounts from 7 months ago because they are coming in that quick and that fast. And for all these lots and lots of people helping me, they're still coming in that fast that we are 7 months behind. And that's on a tiny little island in the middle of nowhere. So I can imagine in America or Canada, you are flooded with accounts. In the Victorian ages, if you said you saw a ghost, you were ridiculed. Now, everybody's out there with an EMF meter catching a demon in the woods at night. It's accepted. Same with the UFO abduction. In the 60s and 50s, you were looked at as a bit cuckoo. Now it's just generally accepted that it happens. I'm hoping that happens for Bigfoot reports across the world. And it seems to be happening, doesn't it? That's why we're getting such a flood, such an influx of reports. There's more people out looking. There's more places to report to. And I think it's becoming, that's not becoming the norm. I don't mean that. I just mean it's easier to find somebody that you can share that story with. And if there's people in America reporting to me, there's a serious gap, isn't there? If they're going to come into the Lass in Bolton to report their account from the back country in Canada, there needs to be more of what you do, storytelling, getting it out there, getting them, and it empowers them. And every time you do a video, I guarantee another person will come forward because of that video that you've made. They'll say, oh, that happened to me, actually, or that reminds me of, or that experience I had when I was camping. I'm now thinking about it in a different way. A lot of your accounts come in that way. Is it the same for you?
Oh, absolutely. For us, it is. Of course, what we have is a visual medium. When we do our encounters, these people are on camera, so it's pretty difficult, for us to find. That's kind of why we chose researchers.
Yeah.
Researchers they're pretty willing to put themselves out there and to put their evidence out there, and we just kind of tell their stories, and that's why we call it Bigfoot Odyssey. We tell their Bigfoot Odyssey. What happened to them, either from non-believer or indifferent to eyeballs deep and everything that got them there, and then what's coming for the future, and we just try to do it in documentary style.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
But I'll say this on my channel, that comment we were talking about, there's 1 out of 3,000 that'll say something like that, because most people, first, I think it's our responsibility, if we're going to be storytellers, is to, and I don't keep a record. I don't have a map pinpointing all the locations. A lot of times I don't have the location. A person won't say it. And that's not a bad idea, because there's some crazies out there that'll show up in that place.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll hunt those people down, and it's crazy. But I think it's our responsibility to give every person, at least I do, that sends me an encounter story equal weight with everyone else. And some of them are far-fetched, and I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. And you can go through my library of videos and you'll hear some stories that are like unbelievable. They really are unbelievable.
Mine's unbelievable. Mine is completely.
I heard yours the other day. It's awesome.
Well,
completely unbelievable. You know, mine is completely unbelievable. It should not have happened. You know,
why don't we get into it? Why don't we get into your encounter, Deb? I'm gonna remind everybody again. Have your questions ready for after. We'll be taking questions from the chat. Again, we appreciate everybody joining us here, and just be sure to keep it clean. All right, Deborah, why don't you tell us what happened to you and when it was?
It was in Salford, which is completely impossible. That's a town that's in Manchester in the UK, in the northwest of the UK. Not much there. There's a mine, there's a few mills, there's a docks, and there was this old country park. Now, it's not a vast nature reserve or anything like that. It's an old country park that had just been kind of left. It's been there since, I mean, there's an old mansion in it, like an old Edwardian mansion in it. And when it just gets left and the windows are boarded up and nobody bothers with it, and the gardens overgrow, and there was this huge orangery. And one time it was a beautiful place. It had a park and everything. It's not now. Back in 1982, it was a place I was always there as a kid. We used to build dens or forts, as you call them. And we'd just stay there until it went dark, and then we'd go home. I think it was the last year of secondary school, because we were cramming for mocks, which means like we were revising, and you get those odd free periods, or you just get that really boring lesson that you didn't want to go in. And my friend had moved down, and she was a bit more racy than me, and she said, why don't we just not go in? And I was like, yeah, let's just not go in. I know where we'll go. We'll go to the Ivy Den in the park. And it was just this like really overgrown rhododendron and laurel and ivy and nettles and blackberry thicket. It was just but when you got in there, you could see out, but you couldn't see in. And we'd hide in there from the teachers, or the parkies, as we call them. Like, they patrol the park, and you'd have a sneaky cig and do the stuff that teenagers do. And it was a completely normal day. It was in the afternoon. It wasn't at night. There was none of that scary. The moon was out. It was about 2 p.m. in the afternoon. We were laughing and giggling, and we were laid down on the floor. I remember that. And I caught a movement out the corner of my eye, and I thought it was going to be a teacher, one of my parents, or one of the lads, and they were going to go, rah, like that. So I was a bit, when I saw the movement, but that is not what it was. This face that looked like a man and an ape pushed together. He had a really thick jaw, a really thick brow ridge. He had amber eyes. He had dark leathery skin. I could see him from about there up, and he just leant forward out of the bushes, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and God's honest truth, I jumped up and I pushed my friend to the floor so that he'd get her, and I ran. I gave it everything, and I ran, and I turned back to look because I wanted to know who was coming after me. And she was up and running, and he just leant back in like that, and he was gone. As if he was using the trees and the shadow to hide himself in some way. He leant out of the greenery and looked at me and went back in, and that was it. And that tiny happening is still affecting me 37 years on. What was it? How did it get there? What does it eat? All of those questions that every person's going to throw at me, I have myself. I've tried to explain them to myself year after year after year. I'm incredibly lucky. In 2015, somebody got in touch with an American researcher named Thomas Markham, who does the Crypto Crew. And he got in touch with me and said, a lady's got in touch with me from your town, and she saw it 2 years after in exactly the same place. And she described it as being about 7 feet tall, completely naked, bit of a pot belly, bit of a hunched look to it. It was clearly male, it had male genitalia, no clothing on it. She said it looked like an ape with a kind of snouty nose. And she said it just stared at her, and she just stared at it. And since that day, I have found 6 other people in that tiny little town that have seen the same thing.
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying.
Well, I know because I've been right there with you, and it's hard to explain to people when you see something that you're not expecting to see. You know, it's disbelief to begin with, and then here's this monster, for lack of a better word. I mean,
that's what he was to me. That's what I called him, the man monster. I called him the man. Yeah, you know, I went home and my mum was really. I mean, parents are quite hard. They worked 3 jobs when we were growing up. You know, that they were that kind of people. You just got on with it. You just kind of got on with things. If anything happened, you just put it behind you and you get on with it and you keep moving forward. That helped because I kind of had that attitude, and I just thought. And I had to keep going to school as well after that. And you had to go through the park to go to school. So it was like I didn't want to go back to school. I was really, really ill. This rumour went round that I was pregnant because I just never came out at night anymore. I went from being this really confident girl. I was incredibly confident. I was lucky when I was growing up. My dad, every weekend we were away in the woods. We were camping, we were fishing, we were rabbiting, we were doing what my dad did and my granddad did and my great-granddad did. So I had that side of it. And I couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't go in a wood. I couldn't camp. I couldn't go, nothing. I was terrified, absolutely terrified. So I moved into a block of flats. So I was in what you'd call an apartment block. So he couldn't get me. And that was in my 20s. My daughters tell tales of when, maybe in my 30s, I tried taking them camping. And my daughter said to me, do you remember that time, Mum, when we went camping and you heard that growl in the woods? She said, you picked me up and ran with me under your arm, and I've never been so scared in my life. And I don't remember doing that. I don't remember picking her up and running with her. I don't remember the growl. I don't remember any of that. And when she said it to me, that you know it, that feeling you get when your little flash comes back, and I thought, oh. And I remembered it, and I thought, it's like I've got PTSD or something. I'm not trying to be dramatic. A simple snap of a twig can terrify me. I've only just been able to go back into the woods at night last year when I went on a research out into Scotland to visit a witness. And I don't know what the word is for it in America, but I was pumping me out the entire time we were there. And
well, it's just fear. It's pure fear, and exactly
fear.
This primal fear. I call it that washed over, a true sinking feeling. It's just it's pure dread. I didn't for a long time. I didn't want to call it PTSD because I didn't want to disrespect anybody that has seen war. You know, because I didn't. But it's got to be the same thing. I mean, I'm not messed up from it. I don't think. I mean, I'm still in the.
Yeah,
I'm still
you do
in the group
everything
somewhere.
you can, don't you? That you think, right, well, I'll put that away and just get on with my life. That's what I'm going to do. But it had a way of pulling me back. I kept finding other people that were in the same boat with the same questions and the same doubts about themselves. Did I see it? Was I hallucinating? I can't have been hallucinating. She was with me. She saw it. I was awful to her when I went back to school. I wasn't nice to her at all. I blamed her for the event and she blamed me. And it's just we both dealt with it in different ways. She buried it and just didn't want to talk about it, and I needed to know. I really needed to know. I wanted to know what it was, where it had come from, how many of them are there, what do they do, how do they get around, all these questions that you get asked. I wanted answers. So this one day, I remember I'd done CB radio, I'd done everything I could think of, MSN, writing to newspapers, radios, and the internet was invented, and I got my very first laptop. And it was in the days when you got the free AOL CDs. Do you remember? You used to get like 100 minutes a month or whatever. And I remember going on there, and I saw something called the Sykesville Monster. And it was like looking at his brother. It wasn't exactly the same, but it's the closest thing that I have ever seen to that creature that I saw that day. And I think that was in the 80s. In my heart is absolutely pumping. I dropped the laptop and I started crying, and I almost had a panic attack, and I'm not that type of lass. And my husband said, Debbie, this got to stop. You have either got to put it behind you for the rest of your life, or you've got to face it. And that day, everything changed. And I just thought, I'm going to find the answers. I'm just going to do whatever I can to find every single person in the UK that's like me, that thinks they're going crackers. And there'll be listeners out there thinking, oh, there's probably 5 or 10. As I said to you earlier, there's 560 to date. So if there's 560 that's been reported, how many unreported accounts are there out there in families not being spoken about?
And that's 560 that have just been reported to you, correct?
No, some of them have come in by researchers. Others were already out there on the internet that have come into other people in the UK. It's many of them have come in through me, and we have a team. It's called the British Bigfoot Research Team. So what we can do now is, if an account comes in an area, we can get a member to that area as quickly as possible, and they can do like an area check. They can say there's a lot of good cover. Here's where the river is. I found these food sources. A lot of the times the witnesses were quite happy to meet up with you and chat with you and tell you, and they'll give you a height estimation, or they'll show you the stance that it was in. That gorilla stance gets mentioned an awful lot. More and more people in the UK now are more than happy to, that I've always got guests on my shows. And you have to try and back it up as best you can, because you've got to be your own skeptic. If you can explain it when you're out there in the field, then just disregard it. What you want is intricately changes, little things that you don't notice until you spend quite a lot of time in one area. I always say to people, don't go running around looking for the sighting areas. Find one area close to home that's got a water source. You can see the deer and protein moving through there. You can see a lot of wild foods and forage, and just spend as much time in that one place as you can, and you will start to tune into it. And you'll notice the patterns of the animals and the way they leave footprints behind, the way they rub on a tree. All of that knowledge gives you a base where you can say, I think this is man-made, or I think this is a deer print on a deer print on a deer print. Trying to teach the Brits that at the same time as trying to get them on board with the idea that there are actually people out there trying to get video, trying to get footprints. We have to answer the skeptics. It's like, it's my duty and other people's duty to answer these questions for the witnesses themselves, because they can't do it. They are not at that place yet where they can argue the toss. You were saying before about people having an opinion about you and making stories up. If I wrote every one of those 560 accounts, I'd be J.K. Rowling. I would not be in my bedroom at 12:30 at night. I'd be in Marbella somewhere, on a beach doing whatever. It's impossible to make up those encounters. Right. Some of those witnesses can tell you tiny little details, like what tent they bought that day, little things that stick in your mind that other people don't understand, and they think, why is that so vivid? Why would that matter? You don't make things up like that. A typical Bigfoot made up story is, I was out and I heard a howl and there was some mud knocks and I seen this Bigfoot and it run across the path and it went. And I'll say, did it have a white stripe on it? It said, oh yeah, it did. Did it have a red chest? Oh yeah, it did. And then I think, I can just disregard that. I also try and embellish. So if they say to me, I saw it on the hill and it looked at me, I'll say, so you saw it and it was on the hill and it started coming at you. An honest witness will go, oh no. Oh, I'm giving away my trade secrets here, aren't I? I shouldn't do it. They'll pull you back. They'll stop your embellishing, because they'll say, no, it didn't happen like that. It happened like this, because they're as passionate about their account as I am as mine, and you are as yours. They want it delivered correctly, and they're using us as a mouthpiece to do that for them. It's a massive trust, isn't it? It's here's my tale. I can't tell my wife. I can't tell my friends. I can't tell the guys at work, the guys I go hunting with, the people I bowl with. But I think I can tell you. And that's a massive responsibility. You and I carry 1,000 secrets, and each one of those secrets is a person behind that, you know, and it's their story. And in the UK, for a very long time, we're apologising for having these accounts. We're saying, "Oh, really sorry, guys, but something stop." I'm not apologising anymore. I don't need to apologise anymore. I know what I saw. I know what happened, and all I want to do is help other people in the same way. And I will always help anybody that comes to me. And there are hundreds of us like that here in the UK. So get in touch, reach out to me, find me, because I'll be able to find someone in your area that has been through the same thing, or has worked with a witness that's been through the same thing, or that can come out and help you get back in the woods. If you can't get back out there because you are that terrified, find me. I have even had people put the iPhone here, and I will be at home on Skype, and I will talk to them as they walk in the wood, and I'll say, today you only do 10 steps, maybe next weekend we'll do 15. And then years after, they write to you and they say, oh, I went camping this weekend with my grandkids. I taught my grandson how to fish. That's the reward that I get. I don't get any money. People think I'm a millionaire. I haven't got a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out. I have to say on some days. I've got now, but my reputation. And if I give you my word, then I'm going to do it. If I say to you, I will find a way of getting you someone that can go in that research, I'll do it. I'll do whatever I have to do.
That's exactly how we feel about it.
It is. It's a privilege. I think it's an honor and a privilege. It's like, storytelling is man's oldest art. We've passed stories on from being in a cave.
Oh my gosh. Deborah, just give me a hug. Come on. Give me a hug, please.
It's
Well, I
true,
mean,
isn't it?
it's therapy is what it is. And I have to thank my wife, Linda Arnold. She's in the chat right now. Love you, baby. If it wasn't for her, I would not be doing this for sure. I'd probably
Same
be
with my husband, yeah.
trying to
Same,
do something else.
yeah.
But I've got this woman pushes me. Not really,
Yeah.
but she helps guide me in the right direction. I think.
Yeah, my husband's exactly the same. Exactly the same. He was the only person, other than my parents and my children, that I actually. There was a long time there where I wouldn't tell anyone and I wouldn't admit it. And then there was a period where I'd try and open the conversation with someone I thought that I could. And I'd say, like, have you ever seen anything weird? No, I haven't. And I'd shut down completely. Luckily, I say luckily, you might feel a bit differently about it. When my husband was a young lad in the same area, he was rabbiting. And he was out with his mates late one night and he saw a really strange light. And he won't mind me telling you. And they lost a bit of time. There was about an hour missing when they came to. And he told me that story and I knew at that point I could tell him. And I just broke down and I told him. And I said, I know you're not going to believe me, but when I was a kid, I was at Bewell Hill and I just saw this horrible ape man. And I can't get it out of my head, Mark. I think he's behind every tree. I'm 52. I can't leave the back window open in the house at night because I live on the edge of a wood now. And because it's pitch black I can't do it. I cannot do it. I'm not at that stage yet where I can leave that window open all night long. And I'm a pretty brave lass. I mean, I'm quite staunch. There's not a lot scares me. But I can't go in that back garden at night. Still. I just can't do it.
It's hard for people to understand that feeling. You just don't want it. You can't sleep. I can't go in the woods to hunt anymore. There's no point in it for me because I know I won't be able to actually focus on what I'm there to hunt. I'm going to be worried about. Even if I don't think anything's going to attack me or get me. I'm just not comfortable. There's no reason for me to be out there, and I understand. I still don't like going outside at night. I mean, I work in the one place in the United States where there has never been a Bigfoot sighting, and there's a reason for that. I would not have this job.
I understand that 100%.
But there is, I'm sorry.
I hope I'm not blocking your time. I don't really mean to do that. I'm just
no, we're doing great. I just
trying to get across.
I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you. The girl that was with you, has she ever told her story, her side of it?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. We've spoken about it over the years. You remember when they had Friends Reunited, when that very first came out?
Hmm.
I looked for her on there and I found her, and she was married and she had kids. And I said to her, "Do you remember the ape man?" And she put, "Yeah, the gorilla man." And I completely shut down. It was like, ooh, I just, when you shut the laptop, like you spoke to your stalker or something, it was a bit too real. And whenever we bumped into each other, there is still that little bit of, because I pushed her to the floor and left her for bait. So can you imagine how she feels about me? So for me to say, well, it's not really you can't just say, "Hey, how are you doing? Do you remember when I pushed you to the floor?" So that could get you first, and I could get away. It's just a really touchy subject. But I mean, we speak on Facebook. We just, it's I don't know. Some witnesses are with other people and they never speak again, or they stay very close to that person for the rest of their life because they have a shared experience. I just think we had no background knowledge of what we saw. There's no Bigfoot. Nobody spoke about Bigfoot when I was growing up as a girl. So there was not, if you live in America, you have that to fall back on, don't you? You've got the Sasquatch tail, skunk ape, grassman, wherever you go, there's a name for them. I didn't realise that it's the same in the UK, actually, all these years on. But back
Depends on
then,
where you are.
It was a monster.
Depends on where you are in the United States, because
different
I heard
species,
about it, but I didn't pay any attention to it because not where I live. I'm not. What am I worried about? That's a Pacific Northwest problem, not for me.
Yeah.
Little did I know.
Yeah, same. There was some researchers out when I came forward in there's the Boll and Beast. Most of the Brits will know about the Boll and Beast. That's quite a well-known reported area where they see lots of ape-like creatures. And in the 80s and the 90s, there was a lot of work done by cryptozoologists in the area. And when I very first came forward to an American gentleman called Alex Munoz, and I hope I pronounced that right. And he was the first man prepared to take my account. And he put it out, and two people got in touch with me, a guy from the Northeast and another gentleman called Adam Bird. And the guy from the Northeast, I told him where I was and what had happened, and he blocked me on Facebook. And I thought, oh, well, because he believed at that point that they were only in Bollum. Bollum is in Northumberland. That's between England and Scotland, and it's vast. It's like Canada. If you scale Washington State down or Canada, it's that type of terrain. And I thought, well, if I've got an account here in Scotland, and I've got one in Wales, and I've got one in London, and I've got it, they can't just be in Bollum. There's got to be routes that they're moving around, or that kind of thing. How are they getting from this place to that place? Adam Bird got in touch with me, and he said, "I don't think you realise, but there's another person in the UK that's seen what you've seen." He gives me the gent's name. I get in touch with the gent, and he says, "Oh yeah, in Sevenoaks when I was a kid, 1970s, making it with new build, we call them in the UK. I'm not sure what you call them in America. When you build houses in a normally wooded area that's never had houses on it before. Do you get what I mean? So out of your back window, it's just wilderness because you're on the very edge of like the town.
Yeah, that's where we live right now.
Yeah, same. Exactly the same. And he saw an ape face at the window looking at him.
Mm.
And he said he drew it in school and everything. And a couple of days later, there was a report by a bus driver that an orange-coloured orangutan ran across the road in front of him. Now, this is Sevenoaks. Sevenoaks is not that far from London. And I thought, it's not just in the Highlands or Ben Nevis, or they're coming into urban areas. And it's the same in America, isn't it? In Canada. There's more people in it. You need a person and a Bigfoot to get sighting. So the fact that they're seeing him, Chris Noel has done a lot of work on that. That if you're seeing, people are seeing them in one certain area quite close to town. And we wouldn't be making these reports if they were all in the wilderness. We wouldn't have the road crossers or the ones stood at the side of the road. We wouldn't get those reports if they weren't quite close to urban areas.
Oh, absolutely. We did our episode 7 was it's a little remote subdivision right next to the Atchafalaya Swamp in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Carl and Rachel Gotro. That's episode 7. This thing's coming in their backyard, eating their dog food. They find 17-inch footprint in the back patio and 5 more in the yard. And then they end up getting all kind of other evidence. But what do you think about that? I mean, what do you think that is? I mean, you don't have to go into the heart of darkness to find these things. Obviously, they're right there on the fringes. It seems like. What do you think about that?
I know all the theories. I honestly don't know what they are. I'd be a liar if I said I did, until one of us sits down with them and actually has a conversation about it. We're all just guessing, aren't we? Yeah. I'm not. Ask me again. You've thrown me for a loop. Ask me again. What did you ask me then?
The window peeking, something that wants to remain hid,
Yeah.
What do you think that is? They want to come out to be in the edges. Do you think just to watch us? They want to see what we're doing? Do you think it's just curiosity? Well, I mean, what is your opinion of that?
I think it's a number of things. I think one of them is that we move into their areas. So they've had, and this is just my personal opinion, they've had centuries walking that land, where every food source is, where every medicine is. And we build on that, and we build on it, and we build on it. So we encroach on them more and more. So we kind of force them to come into contact with us. Secondary, humans leave a lot of food. Wherever you go, humans leave food. It might be something as simple as the ease of food. There's one case here in the UK that's in Yorkshire, and we've got hair samples from it for some really good evidence out of it. If you pick that for a Bigfoot spot, you say, there's no way on this earth that anything could live there. But when you look at it, it's a river surrounded by nature reserves, and there's this one place where they dump food at night. And this one food dump, all the supermarkets and the shops, all the bacon, anything that's had up that day goes to this place. What if it's something as simple as ease of food? Danny Aylor, who you had on the other night, we had a member phone us up and say, on the way to Lancaster University, there's an upturned tree. So this tree's been upturned and it's been wedged within 2 trees. Danny Aylor and Darren House said, I'll go out to the site, I'll go and have a look. It's a motorway, a long motorway. You've got a university there, and where they found the signs was at the food bins. So we mapped together, me and Daniela and Darren. We had reports to the north of them. We had reports to the east of them, the west of them, and the south of them. And we mapped this corridor that went to the Forest of Bowland. From the Forest of Bowland, you can go either way. You can go to Scotland or you can go to the west coast or the east coast. It as something as simple as ease of food. It could be that. If they move at dawn and dusk, some people think that they move, but we have daytime sightings, so that can't be 100% because we see them in the daytime. It might be. There's something I was trying to remember. I was trying to think about it, about them coming close.
While you're doing that, I want to ask Cam, while we're still in this vein, Cam, you get a lot of stories. Obviously, I know you probably have hundreds that you haven't even gotten to yet, about these creatures being close to civilization, right? I mean, it's not always in the mountains or out in wherever. And Cam, would you please give Frank Lambert a shout out, or I won't hear the end of it.
Hey, Frank. Frank wants to hear a cryptid. Maybe I'm a cryptid. I'm not sure.
but you can see where I'm coming from, Cam. You get a lot of those stories where they're kind of close to, really populated areas, right?
Yeah, I don't. Most of them are, deep in the woods, but we've had one actually in downtown Los Angeles. Early on, there was a story like that, and I've had one dogman encounter in Boston. I'm trying to think. There's so many, but yeah, there are quite a few. And you know what that does? It gives to me a little credence to this cloaking thing, that they're not. I don't have an opinion either way. I don't want to get in the mix of, what's what and what they are and all this stuff, but it almost gives a little credence to the cloaking, maybe the paranormal type existence. I'm not sure. But yeah, we get urban encounters quite a bit. I think I've got one coming up in my next video. It's a suburban type encounter, which a lot of people say, you know, there are more sightings now because the population is expanding, but apparently that, you know, doesn't seem to be affecting them, because people are, I mean, I've got so many encounters here that, and I don't doubt a single one of them, that, and a few of them are close to cities. So it's real interesting. It's fascinating stuff. Now, Deborah, I don't keep a log like you do. I read the stories. I enjoy them. I share them with people, and I don't, you know, and I would send them all to you, but I don't have the writer's permission to do that.
No, I understand. I understand. Yeah.
But anybody that sends me a story, you should get, you know, Deborah has a great log of tons of encounters that would help her. And I would say you probably wouldn't need to give her your name.
No.
90% of the stories that get sent to me, people want to remain anonymous. And even if they don't, I will only read their first name, because I learned that early on, because a lot of times they'll forget, and, you know, they'll get in the fever of writing, and then they'll forget to say, oh, I don't really want my name out there. So, but I would assume they could submit encounters to you anonymously, but give locations and things like that, or general locations that would help you with your research.
They don't even have to have it aired online. It doesn't even have this. There's a sightings accounts that are not on the map because people didn't want them on the map. One of the reasons you said earlier, that they don't want lots of people running through the woods because they've got an ongoing situation. And I've got a few researchers out there where I say, you stick to that alone, and I won't let anyone in that area. You keep doing what you're doing because it's working, and that's more important to me than anything else. So there are sightings that don't make it onto the map, and just because they don't want to be on there, but they need to talk to me about it, or they need some kind of validation. They need you to say, well, actually, I know a gentleman that had exactly the same scenario that happened with you, or in your area there are another 4 or 5 witnesses. I only map them. I think it's just my way of organising things. People keep saying to me, we had there's not many meets, there's not people meeting up in the UK discussing this. So in Cannock Chase is a very famous area in the UK. So just as a tester in March, I said, I'm going to be in Cannock Chase with my friend on Saturday. If you want to come out and join us, just come out and join us. And I was astounded at the amount of people that turned up. Some of them I knew were witnesses, but I didn't announce it. And some of them I knew, but I didn't know they'd had experiences. And after 5 minutes of that little awkward, I said, right, you know, let's just sit down and chill. I'm not gonna tell anybody who's who. That's entirely up to you. And after 5 minutes, they were all chatting and they were all swapping stories and they were meeting up. So I thought, I'll make a map of that. I'll put every member that wants to go on it. I'll put it on it. And I only made it 4 days ago. And I've already realised that there are 6 researchers, people, members, whatever you want to call them, that are interested in Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the wild man, whatever name you want to give him, all in this very little town, and none of them know about each other. And I thought, what a great way of saying to people, look, there's another 5 people. So they've been flooding in. People have been saying to me, oh, put my name on the map, put my name on the map. And people from Canada have done the same, in America. People want to team up. They want to meet other people that are like me and you now, and we're just having a talk about it. Yeah. Let's have a cup of tea. Let's just have a chat about it. We're all going to have different interests. We're all coming at it from a different way. We all might have a tiny little piece that clicks in, and you suddenly think, that makes sense now. A gentleman explained to me about the cloaking, and he said, Debbie, what if it's a natural ability? What if it's something to do with the hair? We might see it as magical, but it could be that the hair reflects, or the oil on the hair reflects the light in some kind of way. They use that natural camouflage to vanish and appear at will. Maybe it's just physical. So you've got to look at things from that one person made me think, I actually never thought about it like that. It might be that. So I'm hoping we can get as many people together worldwide meeting up. So if you're in Pennsylvania and there's another guy in Pennsylvania, get together and go out in the woods and see. Have a natter, get on Facebook, go on YouTube, have a chat with people.
Yeah.
Because you'd be amazed how many of them go, you know what, we get the eye roll less than we get, well, actually, that happened to me when I was younger, or my Uncle Frank was out. And you get that more than the eye roll, really, don't you? And it just validates them. It gives them somebody else that's had all the same questions as them and can say, oh, I've watched this video, you watched this video, or read this article, or check this guy's channel out. And let's just get networking and get people's stories out there.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's what we're all trying to do. Just trying to keep it relative and relevant, keep the discussion going, because there's a lot of research out there that nobody knows about. And we're coming close to the end of our hour. We're going to take a few questions. We got one here from Miss Diane Fowler. She said, have you ever had a person who had an encounter refuse to go back to the site with the researchers because of fear?
Constantly. Constantly, all the time.
So they won't go back.
They won't go back. There's no way that they're going back. Some try. They try to go back and can't. Every single witness is different. Some of them completely block the encounter. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to speak about it. They don't want to be in that area. Others, like me, ferret for as much information as they can find. And then obviously they've got all the in between on that spectrum. I speak to men that, I use this story a lot in the UK. People will have heard it. 6'7", built like a brick wall, driving home one night, 1:30 in the morning, sees a dark shape at the side of the road, thinks, oh, it's a dog. Oh, as he's getting closer, it's a bit big for a dog. Oh, it's a deer. Getting a bit closer, actually. The deer stands up on 2 legs, and it's built like a docker. And he said, I can't drive that road. I can't do my job because I can't drive that road at night. I'm the person people come to when there's trouble. I work the door on nightclubs. I'm an handy lad, but I'm terrified. I have mountain bikers that will not go out again. Harwood Forest, for instance, that lad won't bike. He won't go out on his mountain bike anymore. Fishermen that won't fish because something's been around the camp. One account, a hairy arm right through your tent. Another account, an hairy arm underneath the tent. If I was telling you those stories in Washington State, you would instantly say Bigfoot. Wild campers that won't wild camp anymore. Paranormal groups that have been chased out of woods that won't go back. Consistent fear. And that's before you start on the dogman witnesses. They are terrified because there's kind of been accepted that there might be a hominid in the UK. It might be a wild human. Dogman, they get no help whatsoever. There's no one taking the accounts. There's no one trying to help them. And there's no one mapping them other than me that I can think of. Every single dogman encounter happened around an ancient burial site that's been disturbed or built upon. And I wouldn't know that if I wasn't mapping them. So yeah, there are terrified people out there in the UK.
Yeah, it's definitely a petrifying kind of fear. We're going to take a couple more questions, a couple for both of you, actually, and then we'll bring it on home. Here's one from Kathy Thompson. Mr. Dixie. I know you get called that a lot, Cam. Mr. Dixie, have you ever had an experience? What encouraged you to do your channel?
Yeah, no, I've never had a Bigfoot encounter. I have never seen really any signs of a Bigfoot. But what got me interested in it, it's kind of a long story, but my teenage boys used to love reading about Bigfoot, and I just kind of passed it off. I like to read fiction and stuff like that, but they were all into this Bigfoot. Well, then you fast forward 10, 12 years later, I have grandchildren that I go to another state to pick up and bring them to stay with us in the summer. And so on the way, we started listening to Bigfoot podcasts, and we just thought they were the greatest thing in the world. Well, I got really seriously interested in it. This was, within the last 5 years. And I've always loved to read, and I love stories, and I write a little bit. I just love good stories. And so after a while, I just thought, I've been told so many really good Bigfoot stories through the years that I want to retell them, because if you don't, they're just lost to history. And and you can go through my channel and you can hear some of the original stuff, and it's to me, they were fascinating. And I've got 10 or 15 more. Now that I do this channel, people are actually telling me, they'll run into me in town and they'll tell me just awesome stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to tell the stories, and that's how I got into it. I never dreamed that it would be interesting to people. I just wanted to hear myself tell them to see if I could do it. And it's just a ton of fun. And the writing part of it is more fun for me than actually doing the YouTube channel. But we got a book coming out this summer. So yeah, that's how I got into it.
Awesome. That is fantastic. Well, you know, before we go to this last question, I just want to let everybody know you can join us on Facebook. The wonderful assistant producer for this show, Miss Daniela Aiello, is the boss lady there. That's Bigfoot Odyssey on Facebook. Go to our website, bigfootodyssey.us. Go check out the travel show, Bigfoot Odyssey. And if you have had an encounter or experience and you'd like to come on the show, you can go to the Facebook. You can instant message us or go to Daniela Aiello, if you know her, and send your accounts in. We'd love to have you on. One more question.
I can't hear you. Dixie, can you hear me?
I can't hear him.
No, it's gone.
I think he lost the connection.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm looking at the YouTube channel and it's blank.
It might be. You might have. Do you think we did okay?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I could sit and talk with you for hours. I lived in the UK where I could come over and hang out with you and listen to all the stuff you have to. Oh, and I bet you've heard so many great stories.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Last week, I had a gentleman from Canada get in touch, and he's way up there in Alberta. And he was lovely to talk to because he was a hunter, he was a guide, and he's telling me all these things. And he said, I've only ever told my wife. I've never told anyone else of my wife. And he tells me this tale. He's out there hunting this day, and this moose comes charging out of the wood line. He said its eyes were rolling, and on the back of it was this ape-type creature, and they wrestled to the ground, and they had this fight. Oh, it was amazing. To hear that, I remember thinking, just me from this little town in England, and now I'm talking to people in Canada that are telling me tales.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing, isn't it, the way your life goes when you get into this subject. Yeah. I'm
really sorry about that, y'all.
It's okay. You're back now.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. You know, it's just one of those things when you do a live show, not something we can really get out. But yeah, someone said Matthew Turner said Bigfoot got Gary. Now I'm still here, Matthew. I appreciate that, buddy. Well, before this happens again, I want to thank you guys for joining us. And Deborah, you guys hang around. Just want to let everybody know, anybody that's had an encounter, we're going to be doing a lot more encounters these first few shows. Our next show, Saturday, our guest host, Bigfoot Home, and Deborah and Daniela Aiello are going to guest host for our guest, Andy McGrath from Beast of Brew. So it's going to be these first two shows, got some British guests on there, but after that, we're going to be getting into more of our viewer encounters. And just thank you guys enough for coming on. We certainly appreciate you being here. Deborah.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me. And I think maybe I'm over my fear of doing a live video. I might do some of my own now.
Fantastic. Well, you're welcome to come back on anytime. Deborah, we're going to have you back on because there's so much stuff we didn't get to. And I hope you will come back on for us.
Yeah, of course. Anytime you want me. And you can come on my show as well. Yeah, on my YouTube channel. Now you've done your first, your appearance. Now we know
that's
the
right.
man behind the mask.
Deborah, tell us all what the name of your channel is.
Oh God, I have to think about it. I think it's British Bigfoot. One second. British Bigfoot. You know, that's how clued in. I have to apologize. It's 1 a.m. in the morning here in the UK.
That's why I did this one early.
I've got no internet whatsoever, so I can't even get my channel to come up.
We'll find out. I'll tell you what. I'll find it and post it in the description right here.
Yeah,
And
everything's crashed.
We're thinking it's going to be Bigfoot. But from now on, the Wednesday show will be at 7 p.m. Central. We did this one early just for Deborah because it was midnight when we got started. And thank you guys for coming on with us tonight. Everybody, thank y'all for joining us live. We certainly appreciate it. Join us Wednesday, this Saturday at 6 p.m. Bigfoot Tony and Yella Aiello and Andy McGrath. Thank you. Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Night.